Hello and welcome to ETMarkets live stream. Well, my name is Shadaj Anand, and today we are diving into a topic that matters to every investor: long-term wealth creation. Well, we are seeing a rapid transformation in how investors build wealth from traditional routes to digital platforms. The landscape is evolving fast. Well, to discuss this and more, we have with us Ankit Rastogi, who's the Chief Product Officer at Angel One, someone who's right at the intersection of technology and investing. Ankit, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey Kshitij, hi. Hi to all the viewers.
Thank you so much for taking the time out, Ankit. Well, the definition of wealth creation has only evolved in the last 10 years as investors discover newer ways of creating wealth. How are you looking into all this?
Yeah, well, I think while the meaning could be very subjective to each one, I would say that some fundamentals in my definition define the wealth creation. Number one, it has to be consistent inflation beating returns. Number two, any wealth creation, I would say, will not come with shortcuts. It has to be long term. I
Yeah.
think it has to be oblivion to the cycles. And then there are interpretations of that, right? So for example, for someone, and it's very individual definition, right? For someone it could be gaining a fire kind of independence, right? Financial independence, retirement early.
Right.
For us, someone else it could be just that the ability to have the choices in life with
Mm.
right at right point and right time. For someone else, by the way, it could be even being debt free, right? That could be
Right.
as simple as a wealth
Exactly.
creation, right? In a world where we are having humongous choices to kind of get the credits also,
Right.
right? But I think, yeah, the way to achieve that would be, in my definition, would be for my own personal formula has been ride on the index investing, on the passive
Mm.
investing, which keeps it very disciplined, which also, as I mentioned, removes the emotions out, while the greed may always say, right, less or more, but it just keeps it very
Right.
simple. Be consistent, be on the large caps, focus on the fundamentals, don't get swayed away by the fear or exuberance, right?
Mm.
So I think that way, my mantra would be, in the new age world, stick to the fundamentals long term.
Mm.
Index is one great way. It's also is, by the way, great way, not to give too much distribution cost, right? Which
Exactly.
helps compounding. We all say, right, that more than timing, the time itself matters, right? So if you are there for the longer run, and you should be, with some
Yeah.
disposables which take care of your exigencies, then don't
Mm.
just stop that cycle and just continue there for long term, and that
Mm.
would be the wealth creation.
Absolutely well said there, Ankit. And in fact, Angel has, or Angel One has also gone through tremendous transformation in the past, 10
Mhm.
years or so. And it has come out with flying colors. That's what I could say, and has created a mark, and it has sort of transformed itself from a broking firm to a fintech firm, and now it's growing faster. How is the core vision behind Angel's One's product evolved to support long-term wealth creation for retail investors?
Superb. So I would say, as you mentioned, the long term, it's just, we are synonymous with the long term. We have been perhaps one of the oldest brokers. We call ourselves a
Absolutely. Nothing,
25-year-old
nothing
startup.
taking away from that fact. Yes.
Correct, correct. And we are one of the largest public brokers out there. So I think that has been very consistent. That have a long term vision, I think, has been the fundamental core of
Mm,
Angel One, and being very customer focused from day one. When
right.
even when we were in a physical world, then we moved to a digital world.
Mm,
And thanks to, I think, the last decade of India stack kind of helping us, it would be
mm,
unfair to say that we all did the magic, but I think the ecosystem in India has tremendously evolved,
true.
right? Be it
True.
the UPI, be it the KYC. I think the digital KYC onboarding has played a mammoth role in, right, making it
Mm,
democratic
mm,
for a normal citizen of our country to ride the capital markets and at least enter
right.
there, right? So I
Mm,
think that was one reason, that have a long term vision, stick to the
mm,
basics, and focus on your core. And then I think this ecosystem change, which we mentioned, kind of was a second peg
mm,
in that order, which has helped to our core vision.
right.
We have also been governed by a very long term North Star, thanks to our board and promoters and vision out there, that
Mm,
can we be the full stack largest fintech player,
yeah.
in the country, right? And when I say that, it's again the very common term which we commonly use is being the super app, which also means that
Yes.
we are a young country.
Yeah.
There would be various financial needs in the tenure
Mm,
of a youngster, right from the day when they start investing. Be it could be the first job, or be it could be the
mm, mm,
first, personal episode, say having a child or a marriage, and after that we decide, right, that we'll have some goals, right? So
yeah.
I think being adapting to that various needs with the age of the customer as the young India starts maturing, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
can we be meaningful in every stage of life? When you look for credit, when you look for your first investment, when you look for an
right.
insurance need, right? When you look for a, if markets are choppy and you are kind of very worried, can you look into fixed income, right?
Right. Right.
So I think this gamut of options which seamlessly come in on the app
Mm,
and make it very easy and accessible, uh,
mm,
just by the being pervasive there, they keep on reminding people that, oh, okay, there is a tab there which talks
mm,
about
mm,
insurance and I've not been there, right? So it just
right.
inculcates that you should have some insurance, right? It just reminds that.
Mm,
While it's similar to, if you see, right, we go to your bank account and we keep seeing our balance plus minus, we see our salary day checks, but then,
yeah.
right, we just come out of that, right? So a super app
Mm,
does that beautifully by reminding that, okay, you have been into holdings but you don't have a passive fund. Okay, while
ah,
you have a passive
okay.
fund, maybe you don't have large caps, right? You should be
Mm,
maybe hedging a bit here and there. Why don't you subscribe for a gold bond? While it's a great way to bring into gold as a hedge into
mm,
your portfolio, right? So I think this tenet of super app was another
mm,
core fundamental. And then I would also leave it with this, that we have also been a QSB, qualified
okay.
stockbroker, by
Mm,
the compliance and regulator. So we have, and it's a heavily regulated market, and rightly so for the common investor.
mm,
So I think being on the
okay.
right side of compliance is
Mm,
equally critical. That brings in a lot of trust, right, as a layer, because we are the party to people's money, so we need to
mm,
be ensuring that we are on the right side of it. So I think being a trusted broker comes in
mm,
automatically if you are doing a lot of the things which SEBI or the our
right.
humble regulator or are proposing. So I think, and then
Mm,
last and not the least comes the binding of all this and bringing it as an easy interface, because people relate to that on the consumer app, right? Your how are your
mm, mm,
features happening? How do people interact with our? Are we pervasive on the platforms? Are we available at the right time at the right need? I think those have been
exactly.
some of the core tenets on which we have been riding.
Absolutely. Good that you mentioned or brought the young population topic in the conversation. And I wanted to ask you is what key user problems related to wealth creations are you trying to solve, especially for first-time investors? And yes, we are seeing a lot of traction on the tier two, tier three cities. I'm sure you could add on to the data
Mhm.
on that.
Yeah, brilliant. I think, yeah. So I think we are one of the foremost, I would say, acquirers of opening the DMATs, right? And we are
Sure.
full fledged. I think participating with the depositories to increase that base, as I mentioned, and a lot of that base, in fact, a
Uh,
massive majority of that is coming from tier two, tier three, and
right.
definitely, I think this is an audience which requires a bit of more hand holding. They require much more
Hmm.
simpler
Exactly.
interfaces, right? So I will take a few examples how we are trying to solve that. So for first, I think very basic is the just providing the discovery, right, the access to the market. So that starts from the
Right.
easiest onboarding, Shitej, right? So the
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
while I mentioned, right, the India stack has kind of made that steps fairly easy.
Right.
But still, the way we onboard, the interface which we have, right, how quickly
Hmm.
and how tactile feedback which we give, right? You need to have your PAN, blah blah, Aadhaar, and few
Yeah.
things ready, right? How early you tell that?
Hmm.
How do you handle those drop offs? Because you may get a sudden call. You're a tier three
Hmm.
guy. You
Hmm.
get busy with something else. You
Uh,
started someday onboarding, and then how do you bring back the context of where do
context,
you
right?
left that journey, right? So those are very small things,
Hmm.
so that brings that acquisition funnel pretty smooth, right?
Hmm.
It also matters from which channels you are coming. Are you coming via referrals? Are you coming from a paid
Uh,
marketing? Are you coming
true.
from organic, right? So how do we tweak a bit here and there to make it like easy and
Hmm.
lucid for this customer to kind of come in? That's part number
Hmm.
one. And these, when we say in product language, we use happy flows or non-happy flows, irrespective. I think we have to take
Hmm.
care of all the edge cases here, right? So, yeah, so that's part number one. So once you're onboarded, then I think that comes in all the part of In our language we call it activation, but before that activation it's the discovery, right? How do we make you sure that you have easy access to all the
mm,
plethora of
mm,
options you have? And again, it could be very intimidating for a new customer, right? That okay, these are too many things lying there, right? What should I pick?
yeah,
So there comes an element of a bit of personalization, right? How do you contextualization? How do we offer what is the right thing? What kind of stocks you're looking for? What kind of funds you're looking
sure.
for? Right. So I
Mm,
think those you will see today in our homepage very much up there, and these are very easy decision enabling kind of content that you need not put in too much cognitive load on your mind if you want to buy in like quickly and enter the market because you have done the hard work of onboarding now. Might as well just try with a quick amount, hold your emotions
mm,
there, like look into your easily track your money, right? How it is going plus and minus. It's also a great way, by the way, Kshitish. I think I would say that being
yeah,
very transparent on the pricing. We are a discount broker, right?
exactly. Right. Mm,
So the last thing we can do is that put that iota of doubt in the customer's mind that how much they will be charged, right? So all the way from
mm,
our
mm,
discovery funnels to our postpaid transactions, we have to be very crystal clear that okay, this is just a flat 20 bucks plus some GST plus some taxes here and
right.
there, and that's a flat charge, right? It doesn't matter how much
Yeah,
me you are trying with, right? So I think those things also kind of we continue to reiterate that you are
yeah.
these things are fully under your control and very
Mm,
transparent.
mm,
The order pad, for example, what are the charges you will be levied? Okay.
mm,
um,
mm,
so I think those are few angles. Price advantage is another one which I mentioned, that keeping reiterating that it's super low cost, not in just
super low cost,
cost
right.
of the platform, but also
Mm,
to enter as, for example, 100 rupees SIP, right? You can start off as easy as that.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
these are the ways where you will try the tier two or tier three, gets a confidence, because we feel that once the one two orders
Mm,
are done, the orders are done, then naturally the
mm.
launch will come in, right? But initial
There's some
you can.
hesitation.
Correct. The stage fear of
Yeah,
the app, right? That okay,
yeah,
I'm new to the market, and what will happen, and
yeah,
am I gonna lose too much or gain too much? I think we need to
yeah,
hold that. The other part, just to conclude on this, would be that once you have done this, then you come
yeah.
into a slightly later part of the funnel, which we call the mid part of the funnel, which is around tracking what you have done,
Mm,
right? So
right.
you took
Yeah.
a position or you took a first trade, how it went
Mm,
through, right, to the decimal, whether you put in an aftermarket order, when it will get executed. So all the
mm, mm.
anxieties are around when, why, how, correct, on the
Right, right.
platform. If I
Mm,
think the least we can do is make it as transparent and as real time
mm,
on the app. You can be right to the T that okay, your MF SIP has triggered right now. If you have created the first mandate, or you have actually taken a direct payout on the first one, if you have taken
mm.
a withdrawal, by the way, you are just testing that whether we will hold the funds by what is the
Sure.
cycle of the fund remittance settlement cycle. So I think all these nuances of a small
Mm,
transactional, say, experience matters a lot. And
mm.
then I think, yeah, the last but not the least is also very important to make the customer aware, not just on the platform, Kshitij, but outside, which
Right.
means the via our comms, the way we communicate. How do you get your first email? How do you get your first
Exactly.
transaction
Yeah.
contract out? How do you experience the same thing? By the way, you may be browsing YouTube's and you may be browsing the social media, right? So this could be
Sure.
beyond the platform also. The same thing
Mm,
also get reiterated in the social media, and
mm.
that's how I think all this tucks in together, brings in those tier two, tier three, and we are able to hold.
Absolutely. In fact, I want to ask you that post 2020 or post COVID, we could say that retail or the trends has been shifting towards investing into equity markets, either via mutual funds or direct stocks, or trading has picked up momentum. Retail investors have come to the party on D Street, and they've become more matured as when if we compare it with, let's say, 2008 or 2013 crisis that we have seen, and then probably how they have sort of tackled the COVID crisis, and then bounced back, and we've seen a
Mhm.
little bit of correction in 2025 because of geopolitical concern, but then mutual funds flows were steady. In fact, now they're touching more than 26,000 crore mark,
Yeah.
on a monthly basis. So, thumbs up and kudos to retail investors and how they've been able to stick on to the mantra of investing, whether markets are high or down. So, let me cut down the story. But yeah, so what trends do you see shaping the future of retail investing here in India?
Great. Yeah, I think yeah, you kind of already kind of hinted in a couple of those macros, and I'll kind of reiterate that. I think it's the story remains same. It looks super bright for a longer term. All of us
Uh,
are very gung about the Indian economy opening up, and right. I think the last decade, if you see consistent trend of low inflations, has been a huge driver of financialization of those savings. Right, we have seen those
mm,
savings like those FDs
sure.
and banks, and we are seeing a deluge of new people who are trying this. I think they understand when the returns are so less. I think that itself is one of the huge I would say
Mm,
attraction for a retail investor, right, to come in. And
sure.
during the last 3 4 years during the COVID wave, when we got a bit of time also, and the
Mm,
remote everything was remote. I think that got a boost, which as you mentioned has got a bit of correction. But I would say, but if you look into the overall number of in terms of penetration, right, with around 19 crore overall DMATs,
sure.
Kshitij, and let's say
Mm,
roughly half crore, 12 crore, inching towards 12, I think, unique
mm,
DMATs. Correct. And an active base on those DMATs still lying around 5 crore,
yeah,
roughly NSE active, and I'm talking about. I think the headroom is immense, right? And this is when
immense.
we have seen, right? We have seen that um, party to that retail participation, but I
Mm,
think the larger cusp is still about to come in. We'll have to
mm,
just keep wait and watch. We are extremely bullish that these are primary temporary blips, but there would be a
sure.
massive uh, headroom still when we look into especially the number of 70 crore pans,
Sure.
right? So even if we remove whatever, right, those kind of pans which may not be eligible, or may not
Yeah.
have the capital, but still there is a huge number, especially
Mm,
when you look at just 11 12 crore DMATs.
mm,
And on the MFI side, when you look into unique MF investor base, that's also five between 5 crore and 6 crore, right? Even if
exactly. Yeah.
that has some overlap with the DMAT. Now, you if you do a 50% average, 12 crore this and maybe 2 3 crore of unique MF, still we are probably only 14 15, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
the headroom is plenty. So we, I
Mm,
think, in a nutshell, look for massive opportunity, not just for us, by the way, for the ecosystem, right?
mm,
Many
mm,
fintechs and many, I think, brokering will kind of continue to
mm,
enable that. That's number one. Number two, I think the overall age on our platform is also getting younger, which
yeah.
also means that your longevity on the platform will only continue more and more as the
Continue.
youngsters
True.
start joining the employment or a business
Yeah.
wave, which the all the SME, MSME, all the entrepreneurial startup India is a great example, right? We are
Mm,
seeing
mm,
all everywhere the participation getting younger and better. So I think that's
mm,
one of the very strong macro trends that, and that's what I mentioned early, that if you can catch them young early and you can shape it,
mm,
which is the third peg for the retail investor, is that how do you shape the
mm,
behavior, how do you coach them, how do you train them, how do you make them aware of what's going on, right? It's right. So,
right.
and I think
Right.
that's where a lot of the angel, I would say, learning and all the which I mentioned, right, both on the platform and outside the platform also plays a role. Entire these
True.
days, all the consumption is largely video and audio,
Mm, mm,
right? And so how do you surface that content for these retail users so that they kind of consume it in a easy fashion, and it could be a very bite-sized content rather than a
mm,
long form one, and it
mm,
just helps them to kind of take a decision. So that's another
true.
one. And also the other two three more parameters there would be the for the rise of retail trend would be that we see that while the
Mm,
metros may get a bit of saturation, but the Bharat trend will
mm,
continue to evolve. The penetrations we
exactly.
are seeing,
Right.
latest AMFI data also said, right, the B30 cities
Mm,
beyond the top 20, we are seeing the trend, massive trend of tier 4
mm,
and tier 3. The AUMs will continue to increase while they may be slightly saturated on this side. So
right.
that will also mean that we should continue simplifying, because more,
Mm,
which we started the topic, right? We should continue. Probably this will also lead to a bit of localization trend, right? In terms of maybe language access, in terms of our
mm, mm,
ability to cater to a very diverse crowd. We'll have to
mm,
continue to making an inclusive platform, right? More and more.
yeah.
One interesting trend which we see, Kshitij, which is very practical, is that we also see non-individual DMATs kind of coming in cases of a minor account being opened,
Okay. Okay.
cases of
Right. Right.
joint
Planning for
account.
the future. Right.
planning for the future, right? As I think on, as I grow old and I open an account in 50s, I would probably open a joint
Mm,
account rather than actually an individual demat, right? So those are when
mm,
people will enter late in the market, they will also realize that, right? So non-individual accounts, HF accounts, you'll see digitization of
mm,
all. We are party too, by the way. Few of that. Angel is perhaps the only player which allows today the full digital opening of a joint account.
oh,
Mhm.
okay. Okay.
Right. We also see something like family, right? It's a family participating, right? If I have a
Correct.
say young daughter, I would like her to be entering the market with my guidance. She could be the first time retailer. So we have
Sure.
products like family portfolio, right, where you can share with your spouse, you can share with their, you
Right.
can get
Right.
access
Right.
to that. It could be a joint because family wealth is being created. It can't I can't be right keeping that
Mm,
confidential unless there is a need of a
yeah.
specific reason, right? So these are some very basic tools which will help, right? How do you
Uh,
share and care about it? So giving more sharing access on the platform.
mm,
We are
mm,
envisioning
mm,
every other day that everyone has a circle of trust, every individual, and especially the new
mm, mm,
timers, right? You ask for a kind of a recommendation or advice or a consent check from, so if you're a youngster who has joined the job, you'll ask a parent that, okay, dad, is this the right, my first MF,
uh-huh.
should I actually, right? So how can
Uh-huh.
you do that on the platform, that knowledge sharing? You should not leave the
Mm,
platform. So I think those are a bit of platform fixes which we will continue seeing, and that will come evolve across. There is also, I think, again, it comes back to the unification of different asset classes, giving them combined
mm,
view,
mm,
like a holistic portfolio view, rather
mm.
than going into silos, because tracking itself is becoming a nuisance, right? You can have five places what's
Uh,
going around. Our
true.
our inboxes today are like super chaotic, right? We get
Mhm.
five notifications from the bank, three emails from the broker, right? Five from the AMC. It could be all over the place. Right? So I think it also someone needs to latch it up together and kind of say that, okay, whether it is external mutual funds you can tuck in here, whether
Mm,
your
mm,
external portfolios you can bring in here. So I think all that
mm,
combined view of what you're doing is I think as
mm,
the retail investors mature, I think it will come
mm,
to that ease of using the product will also start mattering a lot, and your decision making could be on one platform. Yeah, so I
mm,
think those are few of the, I think, shaping for the
mm.
future retail.
Absolutely. In fact, very interesting trends coming up, Ankit, and sure our viewers and listeners would definitely take note of that. But the good part is that the new population or the young population which are coming, they are already mobile friendly. So
Mhm.
and they're consuming everything on the mobile, be it the entertainment part or be it the investing part, and yes, and in a very quick turnaround time, Angel One definitely come to the party very early in making sure that they are mobile first, or in fact they are very giving them ease of investing, like you said that onboarding was very easy, and then the company also became very agile in making sure that whatever the situation demanded or the
Mhm.
circumstances demanded, you've been able to sort of flexible enough to tune
Yeah.
into that particular frequency and cater to the problem. So let me quickly ask you, so in a predominantly mobile first world, how do you see the role of web platforms evolving like yours, particularly for serious traders who demanded advanced tools and deeper functionality?
Yeah, fantastic question. I think, yeah, I kind of missed in the last part that we also, in this tier three and tier two participation of retail, we also see various personas evolving, right? It's not like one
Mm,
size fits all. And your question is super apt that there are like heavy traders, and Angel being in 25 years, we have customers who have three generations of them trading with us. And they have
right.
been like, right, the new one could be on board on mobile, but you mentioned that the dad or the senior parent or the mother could be trading on web, right? It's because
Right.
it's the sheer
Right.
space and flexibility people get. Yeah, and
Mm,
we have been, I think we have been continued investing in across, whether it's iOS, Android, on our app platforms and including web.
mm,
And I'm
exactly.
proud to say that I think we see a very strong trend, Kshitij, of dual platform usage as people move up
Okay.
the strata in their financial journey. A lot of the white collar job customers could be a
Mm,
software
mm,
developer, could be an architect, could be a professional, right, who are
mm,
using the, normally for their office use or business use, a desktop machine or a laptop. These are the people who
Okay.
will log in, right? It's just the convenience of looking their portfolio, checking their SIP mandate, what's going around, right? Maybe just getting a pulse of the
Exactly.
market, right? So
Yeah.
those are very avid users which we are seeing, and as people have multiple
Mm.
devices, as they grow
Yeah.
up the financial journey, I'm sure they are bound by multiple platforms. So few things clearly come out. One, we see a very heavy traffic of serious traders who are hooked onto the charts on our web,
Mm.
because charting
Exactly.
becomes
Right.
very easy, right? You have multiple lines, you can put some indicators.
Mm-hmm.
We have a split view of 7 8
Mm.
charts. You can maybe tracking Nifty, BSE, you may be tracking some indices, you may be taking some stock indices and all. So that
Sure.
makes it very handy. So and while you may be still taking your trades on the app, because that's habit, right? It's very convenient to
Yeah.
kind of punch orders and right look into your portfolio there. But for the
Sure.
charting need, for tracking
Mm.
multiple indicators, it becomes much easier. So that's one use case where we see a simultaneous usage, like you have this screen and you
Uh-huh.
also have the other
Okay.
screen.
Okay.
So that's one part
Right.
of it, where web kind of helps. The other way the web, which we have evolved, is that we have launched a series of unique features on the web which makes it pro trader, or you can say like
Ah.
more trader friendly, because we understand that serious traders may be finding the space constraints or a misclick or a butterfingers, we call it, right? In
Yes.
correct. So,
Right.
and that doesn't happen on a desktop or a laptop
Right.
experience or a browser experience or a larger screen.
Mm.
So
Mm.
in that case, there are some critical features, I would say, and I'll call two, three of them. One is, for example, called multi-chart layout, which I mentioned. Your ability to just
The
open
eight
the
window.
correct, correct,
Uh,
correct. An eight
mm.
plus window and look at them
Mm.
simultaneously. You can move them around, and just the convenience and of having it together makes it like only available on web. While we have it on
Mm.
app, but they are limited to say a split window of max two. How much more you can do a slicing on a right a screen of that small, right? So that's one.
Exactly.
Second, I think there is something called Trade One, which we call Trade One is a product available only on
Mm.
web, where you on it's almost like a single screen kind of a terminal kind of a thing, where you can see charts, you can see positions, you can see order screen. All
Sure.
these are like widgets which are there. So in just one screen you can have a watch list, you can see charts, and you can do multiple things, right? It's almost like a
Mm.
console,
Mm.
which is dizzy, but then people love it, right? Because their decision making kind of
Mm.
becomes super cool. And by the way, a lot of our web is enabled with a lot of keyboard shortcuts and all, because
Oh.
all these serious
Okay.
traders have time is a currency for them, so they need to
Exactly.
kind of punching as fast as possible, so it has to be super responsive, right? So they use all the keyboard shortcuts. So that's how one other input we have built on our web. There are also
Uh-huh.
features like very interestingly innovation we have done, which is when people, most of our primarily the option traders trade on indices, right? And they take the
Mm.
positions on those contracts. So we have something called trade on underlying. I will not be able to go into details because of the paucity of time, but that's something
Sure.
very
Sure.
exclusive on web, where you can directly trade on the index rather than actually on those
Mm.
contracts based on index, right? So and then last but not the least, there are a bit of differentiation in the way you can look into a portfolio. You can make it a bit of slightly more slice and dice. Sectoral cuts are available,
All right.
which may not be
Mm.
available because generally we see, right, people who having large holdings will have access to a separate machine, and they may need those
Sure.
slightly power tools which may not be needed.
Mm.
But yeah, I think to summarize, I think yeah, we see it's a very strong sticky access for our
Mm.
users, which makes it super convenient, as I mentioned, for a lot of professionals to kind of switch windows
Sure.
and gear in for this kind of experience.
Absolutely. And in fact, trading is definitely one trend which picked up, especially in terms of options. But there's another trend which was picked up was the is the mutual funds, and we've seen the AUM growing, on a monthly basis. And we talked about the SIP contributions gaining popularity or gaining the amount on a monthly basis. So we see that mutual funds have seen a strong traction among new investors. And what features have you sort of built in to support this journey on your platform?
Yeah, I think yes. Yeah, we were. I would say now it's like close to 2 3 years when we have launched MF on our platform, Kshitij, and we have been on
Sure.
the forefront of innovation here. I think we have been largely an equity player, and now since we moved to a super app, I think MF has become one of the most foremost adopted products in our platform.
Okay.
and you see it as a user right there on very prominent tab in terms of the real estate it governs on the product
Exactly.
charter for
Exactly.
us. I think the few call outs there is that, for example, today, very recently, we launched something like a portfolio review kind of a feature where you can benchmark
Hmm.
your portfolio in whatever funds you have or the total portfolio
Hmm.
against the benchmarks. For example, it can be benchmarked against indices. If you have a mix
Correct.
of portfolio against Nifty 50, how are you doing? That's
Hmm.
very intuitive because it just helps you to kind of course correct. It helps you to understand that, okay, you are doing plus minus this much delta with the market. Okay,
Hmm.
if
Yes.
you have chosen a right not a index fund, or you have chosen your custom funds and all that, okay, the entire basket is looking like that. It can do at a fund level, it can do at an overall portfolio level. Then
Hmm.
not just the performance, right, then the clean labeling and the easy way to communicate it, whether you're doing good or bad, right? This is say 20% lesser. This would have been better if you would have missed it. You missed this chance if you added
Hmm.
into your cart and you kind of never executed that order, right? Today
Right.
that maybe has gone from X to Y, so you kind of create a bit of that
Hmm.
traction that, okay, you would have, that also gives that chance, right, that go early and right be there. And so those kind of tooling and communication is very very important. We call it nudge in our platforms. A lot of soft
Nudge.
nudges are there. How do you
Hmm.
nudge there? The other part is that entire discovery which I mentioned, right? If you are a new
Hmm.
guy, if you are still just a early newbie on the platform, that how do
Hmm.
you surface the right kind of fitment to you? So we have some bit of cohortization and personalization on mutual funds. If you are a new to
Hmm.
the market
Hmm.
person, you will see a different kind of funds and in a different
Exactly.
sorting order, right? Which makes you
Right.
easy to just enter
Hmm.
that. If you are already a SIP customer, then
Hmm.
the genre changes there, right? Because now you're looking for a second SIP. Your investment amount based on kind of recommendation will also change in.
Hmm.
There is also a cost angle, right? Because direct mutual funds are super easy, right? So they're low
Right. Right.
cost. So we continue to kind of keep reiterating, right, that this is a direct
Hmm.
mutual
Hmm.
fund access to you. So you pay bare minimal in terms of a distribution cost. We don't make money. It's purely engagement and wealth creation for the customer on
Correct.
long term. One very strong observation on mutual funds has been, Shitesh, that people obviously who do SIP continue to kind of do it for a longer term rather than the one times. So
Exactly. Huh.
how do you bring
Absolutely. Yeah.
disciplines, right? SIP brings
Hmm.
discipline, so we continue to kind of give you enough tools to track your SIPs, your
Hmm.
mandates,
Hmm.
when it got triggered. Your entire order flow is very very granular from the time you
Hmm.
start the SIP, and right and then right all the ways to kind of control your money. How do you want to top up that SIP, you
Yeah.
want to stop, pause it. You can skip a
Hmm.
SIP if you
Hmm.
see there's a liquidity crunch on
Hmm.
1 month, right? And you feel that something accidental is coming, some other expenses. So rather than pausing it or canceling it,
Hmm.
can you pause it a bit? So right, in our efforts to ensure that you are long term there, and
Hmm.
mutual funds, as you mentioned, is all about discipline and going in there. There are other some interesting solutions which I've also done, is that you can import your external mutual funds also from via MF Central.
Exactly.
That's a very one OTP kind of integration,
Hmm.
which
Hmm. Hmm.
helps you to dig in, because in today's world you can be on multiple platforms, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Exactly.
respect freedom and liberty, and we give you an
Yeah.
easy way to track it at one place, so that you should be
Hmm.
aware of your total corpus and how is it growing. And in fact, the total corpus can be compared against that benchmark. That while those funds may not be with us, but
Hmm. Hmm.
still you need to be aware of that what's going around.
What's
Last
going
but
on?
not
Hmm.
least, I think we also have, we are a manufacturer's angel AMC, so we do
Hmm.
have our own passive funds, and
Exactly.
those are another avenues for the customer which we highlight on our mutual funds. That, okay,
Hmm.
please go ahead and try them out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let me also get your view on the API platform. Angel, the one's a smart API platform seems aimed at the tech savvy investor. What kind of adoptions have you seen, and what's the roadmap ahead?
Yeah, I think it's a subject to regulatory kind of a topic,
Okay.
right? I'll go
Right.
continues to evolve, but you're right, absolutely. We
Hmm.
have our APIs which are absolutely free. We call them smart APIs. They're available for our customers. If you are a bit of tech savvy customer, you are a coder, you feel that you can kind of programmatically want to punch
Hmm.
orders. You may have your own client choices. You may not be keen to hook up to our app, and you have other
Yes.
interfaces to kind of thing. I think these are the early customers we have. We provide SDKs to kind of onboard them, different languages,
Mm.
whatever you are wishing for, be it Python library or a
Okay.
Node.js library. And there are APIs for order placement, for data, real-time data tracking. What's the market saying about it? Your portfolio. So these are the APIs which we offer. There are some more. I think we invest a lot, Kshitij, in terms of
Mm.
latency and performance. That your order, once you
Mm.
are utilizing them, they should be in time. There should be a bare
Yeah.
minimum lag. There is enough documentation available in terms of how do you onboard them. There is a
Yeah.
simple registration for accessing those. They come free, by the way. There is no cost to that, accessing that
Sure.
small API if you're a platform. We are also closely still under progress of reviewing the
Mm.
latest circular which has come in, which makes it even much better. The latest
Yes.
SEBI regulation, which make it even more democratic, right? If you
Mm.
are a
Mm.
algo provider, or you are a client who is creating a algo, or the broker driven algo, I think all those three formats can be
Mm.
there. There are some regulations of static IP, some thresholds of number of orders per second which you can punch in. Otherwise, you
Mm.
need to register your algo, black box, white box. I think so. There are. I think I'm not going to the details, but that's still a work in progress, which we would like to
Yeah.
kind of bring to our customers. But overall, we feel that there is a definitely a lot of excitement about smart API, and it's a ecosystem which is kind of improving with more and more
Mm.
awareness, and we feel that there is a huge headroom there for a lot of heavy traders to kind of put in, right, and pick up the self belief of creating the
Exactly.
orders in that platform. Yeah.
Uh, But you giving them the platform to execute, and you have the capacity and the technology to run those products or to run those
That's
APIs on the
available.
platform.
That's absolutely available as we speak. People are using
Mm.
that platform, yeah, to punch in their order.
Absolutely. But let me also, ask you another interesting questions. And it is very interesting because yes, would want to understand the thought process behind it. As a fintech platform, what led to the decision to expand beyond core investment products offering, such as insurance now.
Yeah, fantastic. I think Kshitij, yeah, as I mentioned, I think so the first and foremost thinking was that we wanted to we have a strong belief that financial assets and their need would be they would be arriving at a user's call in their personal life at
Sure.
some point, each of the financial asset, right? And at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
we have to be available. Correct.
Mm.
I could
Mm.
be the new first timer joining a cool job in, say, Silicon Valley of India in Bangalore. At some point, I purchase my car, and then I feel that I need a motor insurance. At some point, I'm looking for a health,
Mm.
and so on and so forth, and maybe term and all, right? So from that logic, insurance were extremely important for us. And again, the macro
Mm.
parameters there are also of under penetration, serious under penetration in the country, right?
Mm.
Beyond the, say, the compliance driven products like motor, there is a lot of headroom for others also to kind of grow
Mm.
in. And
Mm. Mm.
within motor, we feel that there could be a easy cross sell and upsell for our captive base of what we have captured, right, which is loyal to
Mm.
us.
Mm.
So I think we would like to kind of experiment with that, and these are very early still. We are still a distributor there, just to be very
Nice.
clear,
Nice.
right,
Mm.
giving some options on our super app for motor insurance, which
Mm.
we have kicked off.
Mm.
The journeys are, of course, made in mind for the Bharat and tier 2 and tier 3, keeping them very simple. You
Sure.
can just quickly explore, right,
Mm.
what's available. The pricing is super transparent, and then you can quickly execute if you're thinking
Mm.
in. But yeah, I think the larger answer is same, that we believe that a super app would not be complete if we don't do, right, justice to these
Exactly. Right.
aspects. So I
Right.
think
Right.
based on that belief, I think we have launched this. Simplicity of use, transparency of communication,
Mm.
ease of execution of, as I mentioned, to make a decision to
Mm.
what to purchase, and I think the easy post transaction support, so
Mm.
that you can, once insurance is not like a one time thing, right, you continue renewing. So these are products
Oh,
which,
absolutely.
right? So I think that belief that, yeah, if you service it well, I think the customers will continue to come in. I think those have been the fundamentals. Nothing very unique, but absolutely core and important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely, definitely code and important. That is definitely all right, and you've been able to integrate it so nicely into the app, and everyone uses it. So that's giving them the flexibility and the option. If
Mhm.
you don't have the option, then definitely people will not explore. But if you have the option on the app, definitely it is something which one would like to explore. Let me also get you one finally that how is Angel One leveraging AI or machine learning to enhance user experience and support its product vision? Now, I wanted to ask you because these are the two words which have become more popular in the past 12 to 18 months time, and it's only gaining popularity, be it positive or negative, in the near future as well. But yeah, over to you as well on that.
No, absolutely. I think without this, it would have not been complete, Kshitij. I think any interaction these days will not go without Gen AI. I think absolutely
Sure.
right. Yeah, I think we are on the forefront of leveraging AI, especially Gen AI. And one there are two three areas, Kshitij. One very
Mm,
important is the entire customer support, and we call it CX, customer experience. When people
mm.
would like to reach us out, either through a
Okay.
email or through a ticketing on our app or through a voice interaction, which could be
Okay.
IVR or through a literally a
Mm,
voice call. Okay.
yeah.
And there I think we are trying to automate a bit. We have today we have leveraged Gen AI in terms of auto responding to our email so that the responses could be accurate, they could
Um,
be faster. Can we
right.
comprehend the
Right.
context of that email? And because earlier it used to be manually kind of
Mm,
routed to an agent, there used to be emotions attached of that person on the call, how he will
yeah.
interpret
Uh,
that, right? So we are kind of
mm,
devising it to make it as objective and as sharp as possible. It's still a work in
mm,
progress.
mm,
You will also, our end customers can today experience that in our bots, which are also like these are post-it bots. That they
uh,
are all powered by Gen AI. They have some contextual capabilities. If you're punched an order and you're trying to query the bot, it will kind of surface that what has happened very recently. We'll try to shorten that journey of interaction with the agent, the physical agent, I would say in this case, and try to optimize. And we are trying to closely monitor. Still very early, but we are trying to closely monitor that how is our
mm,
CSATs, customer satisfaction scores, compared when
mm,
do this kind of routing to a machine or a Gen AI kind of experience. And we are finding initial results are incredible. We are finding that it looks like, of course, all these have to be scaled to a larger audience, but these are
right.
some experiments which we are running in terms of accuracy of query resolution. We
Mm,
continue
mm,
to increase the scope all the way from mutual funds to, as I said, to broking. Within broking, there could be different kind of clientele, one who
sure.
has let's say, taken an MTF position or not. And
Mm,
so depending
mm,
on that complexity of the transactions on the platform, we will continue to invest heavily. So that's one part. Second, I think
mm,
we have been leveraging Gen AI and more from a personalization perspective. On when you go into our homepage of our app, the
yeah.
way the context changes, the way it understands. If you have not
Mm,
activated, for
mm,
example, a segment, or you have a paucity of funds, how will you figure out and
mm,
interact that where the last date you had left it? And that's most important next step to kind of leverage that based on the
yeah.
order cohorts, how you have been kind of trading in, where you put punching in large orders, small orders, or in terms of quantum, and there is a bit
Okay.
of layering which
Uh,
goes. So I think we are trying to, and then this is just the homepage start. We'll continue to kind of optimize another areas of our platform, but homepage we have leveraged. And last but not the least, very important is would be to kind of maximize Gen AI for our internal tooling. For one area where we use it is
okay.
all the customer
Mm,
feedback we get, we kind of route it
mm,
via back analyzer, which kind of then
mm,
tags it, categorizes us, subcategorizes. How do we know that
mm.
10 people are saying the same thing, right? Or
Ah,
they're
exactly. Right.
what is the right sentiment analysis on that? Are they saying in a positive way or a negative way, or they're very
Mm, mm,
neutral? So
mm,
we get loads of information across social media, across our feedback channels.
mm,
That how do you, so we filter that via a feedback
mm,
analyzer, which is powered by a Gen AI, and then we are able to make sense of that. Some bit of it is noise, some bit of it could be a direct feedback, and how do you make a
ah,
decision making in your product strategy and roadmap and execution? That how do you filter that? So those are a few places, but
mm.
we have a way to go. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, well, we wish you all the very best for the journey ahead, Ankit, and thank you so much for your time. And well, that's all for now. But do slow on to ET Markets live stream with more investment and trading ideas. Again, thank you so much for your time, Ankit.
Thanks, Shatish. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.